Coach, thanks for joining us. Overall, this season, you talk about the strides taken since the beginning of your first season here at the helm of the Royals. What strides did you see you and your coaching staff take and hope to bring into in year two?
Yeah, the start of the year, especially that first weekend for us in Newfoundland, I think that was a good learning experience to gauge where our group was at, um, where a top team in the league was at, and some of the things that we needed to improve on. Uh, we knew that we had a young group, not necessarily a young group, but an inexperienced group, and the learning process, took a little bit for guys to figure out what they needed to do to be successful in this league, and the strides that a lot of those first year players made um, were pretty evident that they were very competitive players. I think that's the one major thing that players need to learn when they come into professional hockey: how competitive it is, um, and how important it is to be competitive every single game. So I think some of those things that our first year players learned after that first set of games showed that we were capable of competing with top teams in this league.
And coach, with the affiliation relationship you had throughout the season, a lot of players were able to come on American Hockey League contracts and even a handful of players under National Hockey League contracts as well. Where do you look to continue to work with the Flyers and Lehigh Valley Phantoms over this summer as you get set to build up a roster for next year, of course, with some changes to the team in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is the change in management within the Philadelphia Flyers. Um, Expectations for the future in the organization is an exciting thing, I think, for a lot of people. For us, obviously, we do get to see some of those prospects, um, at times throughout the season, and I think going forward, that'll probably be a similar thing for us to see some up and coming players within the Flyers organization. Um, and it's a conversation that I'll be having with some of the Flyers management going forward, and Lehigh, as far as what the plan is going to be coming up in the near future. But some of those players were extremely valuable for us this season. You see the contributions offensively from some of those players, and then obviously the goaltending was key for us this year with Pat Nagel and Noah Meyer. Having all of those players within our group this season, we were very fortunate. And going forward, I can't necessarily speak on having those exact players, but we know that the organization is looking for quality people and players.
And a question, Samantha Wismer, Flyers nitty gritty.
Hi, Coach. Just want to talk on Zayd Wisdom a little bit. How valuable do you think it was for him to take a step down to the ECHL to regain the game that he kind of lost due to injury?
I think the overall season for Zayd was a mix of ups and downs, where he kind of had some confidence near the start or the first half of the season, and then things drop off a little bit for him personally. And then when he joined us, I feel like the conversations that I had with Zayd were mainly positive things, where he felt that he was regaining some of that confidence. And it's just kind of a situation of it is what it is, where he's a young first year pro or first full season pro player, and and he was able to be a key contributor for us in the remaining regular season games and then into the playoffs. He showed the abilities that he has and the potential. So I'm excited for Zaid's future. And I kind of spoke on that when he was about to leave Reading. Hopefully I don't see him again. Hopefully I don't see him in Reading. Hopefully that he progresses and he has a successful off season, and then he's ready to be a key contributor for Lehigh next year and then beyond.
Thank you, Sam. And a question from Barry Schickling with ECHL.
What were you most pleased about accomplishing this season? I mean, it's your first year going through this whole thing as the head coach. What when you think back, what will be the one or maybe two things that you were really proud or pleased that you guys accomplished this year, or that you accomplished?
I think for our group, with how I would say the first 6-7 games went for us, and then how we followed up those 7 games. I think one of the biggest things is, or we kind of briefly touched on it already, of the inexperience of our group, and to have that first 6-7 games where I guess in the standings wise we were struggling, but the turnaround of, I think, winning 14 out of 16 or 17 games after that, where we really showed how competitive we could be. And we had a lot of contributions throughout the lineup, not just the top guys that you expect to be putting up points. I think that was a really good stretch of hockey for us, and showed what we were capable of. And as far as maybe single accomplishments, I think us going into Toledo when they were on that huge winning streak, and one of the toughest buildings to play in, and we came out on top. I think that was a huge moment for our group as far as rising to a challenge, especially on the road versus a team like that. That's something that our group should be proud of from this season.
Thank you, Barry. And if no follow-up question from Samantha Wismer. All good, Barry? Follow-up question for you?
I have, yeah. How about in terms of your first go around as head coach in the ECHL first year? What did you learn? I mean, obviously, there were tangible things you learn, but is there anything that really stands out in your mind about, wow, I really didn't expect this, and this came, and this is maybe something I have to do differently, or at least incorporate into next year now that I've got a year under my belt as the head coach, part of the learning, your journey, your learning process?
Yeah. I think for me, I guess a lot of it, the focus of what you need to be doing as a coach, as far as your lineup, your roster, the things that you're preaching within your group. But I think the communication within the team as a whole, I could probably improve on some small things. And that's kind of I don't want to say growing pains, but just learning the position a little bit, and trying to just become a better coach. And I think that's something that I've tried to be a little more conscious of, and hopefully, going into next season, it's something that I can improve on. But it's one thing to be a player and going through the dog days, but when you're a coach and you need to fill that roster during that time, that was a challenge for us. Something that we were able to make it through, but that part of the season is coming, and you have guys that leave for Europe and things like that, and mix in a couple injuries here and there, and those are the moments where you're really tested. maybe we could have, or I could have done a better job at those moments, but definitely a learning experience and something that hopefully I'm a little bit better at for the next time it comes around.
Thanks.
All right. And Coach, I'll leave you with a parting question as we transition here into the summer. Of course, qualifying offers, and we'll get a look at the end of the season roster here in the upcoming week or so. But Coach, as you transition into that off season, any style of play you're looking to carry over into next year? Of course, a speedy team, a lot of shifty players, but of course you built on the roster. A lot of size came in from trade deadline for next season's roster. Any specific style of players or position you're looking to make sure to build upon as you get set up for next year?
I think we can definitely continue to expect a fast team. That's something that I think at this level, really gives yourself a chance of having success. It's kind of interesting. You look at how the two playoff series went for us, where playing against Maine, they were more of a physical team and a lot of extra stuff after the whistles. And, that there might have been thoughts that our team wasn't very physical, but we were able to, win that series and kind of hold our own. And then you go up against a team like Newfoundland, where there isn't as much physicality or there isn't as much chippiness and things like that. And they're able to come out on top. I think it's kind of finding that mixture of the two, where your team is physical, you're difficult to play against. But when it comes down to it, you have to be able to defend extremely well and produce offensively. So, there's going to be some small changes, of course, within our group, but hopefully we have some strong returning players that can build off of experience from this year and take on a bigger role for the next season.
Joe Madger, Dave Farrar, thank you for your time today. We got a chance to hear from Coach Henry moments ago, and as we transition into the offseason, want to reflect on this season here with the Royals. Of course, a team that has made the Kelly Cup playoffs 12 of the last 13 seasons. What did you take away from the roster that Coach Henry and Binkley built as they transition into a young group and once again get a chance to build upon their strides and the strides taken from a lot of young players?
Yeah, I thought it was a good year. I mean, there was so much unknown going into the season with new coaching staff and obviously mostly new players. I thought it was a really good year. The start of the season was a little worrisome. I know going to Newfoundland's always tough. Then so that first 7, 8, 9 games were a little scary, but then the guys really seemed to come together and turn it around. And we ended up where we did last year, right? We're a couple games shy of making it to the next round, but I thought the guys competed and on the ice, it was a really good year. Off the ice, we had a fantastic year from, attendance, sponsorships, everything was up pretty substantial this year. So a lot to build on going into next year on the ice and off the ice. So we're looking forward, and I know the team here is already grinding, getting ready for next October.
And available for the media, Samantha Wismer with the Flyers Nitty Gritty. Question for David.
Hey, David, how do you think the travel kind of affected the team if they had if they were in a down spiral or an up spiral? How do you think the travel kind of affected them during away games?
A lot. I mean, the ECHL travel is brutal as it is most weeks anyway. So, I mean, in the playoffs, having to play 3 games, and I think we played 3 games in 4 nights, and then take a trip to Newfoundland in 24 hours just seems ridiculous to me. So, I mean, it affects the guys, no doubt about it. That trip to Norfolk for a random game on a Wednesday is unnecessary, and it's about 8 hours in a bus to play a game, turn around, and drive back 8 hours. I think that's just a tough trip to take. And I think we saw, some of these guys going to Europe, travel's not as bad. And, so when you look at these long trips, I think it's tough. But as a league, we got to do a better job of getting at least back-to-backs in the same city, so the guys are in the same hotel room for a night or two. It just makes it much easier.
And a question from Barry Schickling, ECHL.
Actually, 2. One is, what's the have you heard in terms of the time for the release of next year's schedule? Speaking of all that scheduling stuff,
Yeah, hopefully 3 weeks ago. No, I
that's what I
haven't
thought.
heard an update in a while. I know they're waiting on a couple teams to handle some business, but unfortunately I haven't heard. I'm hopeful in the next week or here. I know we're ready to get it out there as soon as we're given the go ahead, but unfortunately it's taken longer than I'd like.
And more about you guys. From 2 years ago to this past year, you guys up 10% in attendance, which is pretty outstanding.
Yep.
Among the best in the league. Is that can you do that again next year? Is that possible?
I hope so. That's the goal, right? To keep improving, and we're lucky we've got a good product on the ice, and then we've got some really passionate season ticket holders. And every game this year, we continue to pick up more season ticket holders and more many plan holders. And we brought in a VP of ticketing this year about 3 weeks ago that we're excited about, Mark joining us, and I think so. I mean, the market responded well this year. Sponsorships are really off and running this year compared to the prior couple of years, so
Good.
I think the excitement is there in the market, and we've invested in the building, right? We put new sound in, new lights. We've got new ribbon boards for LEDs. We're working on, probably not this season, but hopefully next, some new chairs in the arena. So a lot going on in the building as well. So I think we can continue to improve. I think we got the team to do it, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
Thanks.
Thank you, Barry. And a follow-up question, Samantha Wismer.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Do you think having just a mix of leadership on the team and the young guys kind of helped get you guys to this at least the second round against Newfie?
Yeah, no doubt about it. We had some of our veteran guys like Millie and Gerard had been with us a couple of years now, and those guys were obviously the captains, and I thought did a good job. But yeah, you got to have some veterans in there, and we were fortunate this year. Lehigh gave us a lot of guys, right? We didn't get the 20 guys Newfoundland has, but we all year had 6 or 8 guys from Lehigh, which is in this league is huge. So looking to continue that. I mean, we've had years where we had 2 guys, and we've had years where we had no guys. So I think with Danny being in charge, we're going to see the organization get deeper and hopefully keep us with 6 or 8 guys, which is what we need to help, stay competitive in the North Division.
All right, thank you, media members. And part of question for you, David. You mentioned Danny Briere and the transitioning change with the Philadelphia Flyers, and we talked about that importance of the affiliation relationship. Coach Henry and Coach Binkley, of course, carried that over here in their first seasons at the helm. Can you just express how crucial that relationship is to have those players in town, especially when it comes to the Kelly Cup playoffs here in this league?
Yeah, that was huge for us. I mean, a couple of the guys that we had this year have been with us for 3, some 4 years now, which I know no AHL player wants to do, but it was good to have those veterans here. And I thought James and Jason did a great job of having a good relationship with Lehigh and Philly and communicating with those guys and getting us a lot of players. We don't make the playoffs without those guys on the team. And it was good to have. I know in the last, both rounds of the playoffs, we had a lot of guys from Lehigh here, and Danny came to a couple games and some of their scouts. So I see that relationship just continuing to evolve and get stronger, and hopefully continue to get us some really good prospects here and ready.